how omni-channel are advertisers really in their advertising, would you say?
Some are really good at it, where there's an experience that is very connected between touch points. So whether it's an app experience, with website experience, with how they show up in advertising, with what you experience of them, you know, when you interact with the product. There's some companies are really, really good at that. I think hospitality, travel comes to mind, retail in some places. But I think even in those categories as well, there are examples of where that's not happening. And I think I was reflecting on what we talked about in the panel, and I think it's probably part of that is due to a lack of understanding of what's effective and how to do it well, but then also this idea of separate, siloed capabilities that can't help but be disconnected from one another. And you see a lot of companies where you've got a head of digital, you've got a head of traditional, you've got a e-commerce, and the three report to different places, and maybe they collaborate, maybe they don't. You know, I just think you're set up for a situation where those things are bound to not be connected to one another.
Well, I was thinking, you know, what makes the good ones good? You know, what is it about them that makes them capable of being good at this?
I mean, I think organizational alignment probably is one. I think a shared understanding of what marketing's role in the company's success is probably another. I think a shared understanding of how the customer perceives them as a product or brand, and alignment around how you impact that in a good way. You know, I think leadership probably, you know, going back to the organizational point, has a lot to do with it. If you've got somebody with a unified, you know, understanding of what the customer experience should be, and you know, has the gravitas, or I guess the organizational position to be able to drive that, you see success. But we could probably both name 10 examples of where that breaks down, you know. So to your original question, I think some are doing it, but a lot aren't. I think not only is the brand hurting, the marketing efforts are going to be less successful, and that's going to appear as our advertising's bad. But that's masking, you know, a sort of disconnected experience is really what's going on, and it's showing up as, well, the ads aren't effective. And so then there's a focus on what do we need to do to make the advertising effective. It's like, well, your advertising might be fine, but if the way you show up as a brand in advertising is totally disconnected to the way that customers experience you from a customer service standpoint, you're going to be living in two different places. And then they really don't understand. Your customers really don't know what you stand for. And God forbid, there's a huge, you know, gap in quality between the two interactions. Somebody could appear amazing in the advertising, yet when you interact with that brand at a retail touch point or in a phone conversation or whatever, it's a miserable experience. You know, it doesn't matter what happens in the advertising realm to overcompensate for that.
I wonder if the converse situation is also true, where it's a great customer experience, it's a well-respected brand that's well-known and loved, and then it has crappy digital
100%.
advertising.
I'm 100% positive that situation exists. And I think there are a lot of products and services that have grown up around an excellent customer experience, and they've prioritized customer satisfaction with the product above all things, but they've not learned how to be an omni-channel marketer in the realm of advertising to go along with that. What that's going to do is limit the ability to which they can scale the business. Because the great thing about, you know, customer interactions and being really good at that is that it drives, you know, long-term value and sort of lifetime loyalty. But there's a limit to how much you can do of that. And so your ability to really scale that is how can you talk about it in a way that convinces people this is who you are, and drives awareness and sort of grows, you know, the overall pot of people that can interact with your brand. So there's definitely people that probably aren't growing to the extent that they could for that reason.